just come up to 21 minutes to 8. He's been described as Mr. Fix-It, but also accused by Winston Peters as being a black ops minister. Steven Joyce is standing down from Parliament after almost a decade, and he's in our Auckland studio. Good morning to you.
Good morning, how are you?
Very well. How do you feel? It was, I suppose it was leader or bust, wasn't it?
Well, not quite, but it's certainly that answered a question for me. And then it's a case of fork in the road, which way are you going to go next? And I gave it a lot of thought, serious consideration. And I thought, well, if I'm going to go at any point over the next 2.5 years, then I owe it to the party to go now, and owe it to Simon to go now. So I had a chat with him, and here we are.
And the finance portfolio, were you offered that?
No, I was offered front bench and it was said to be any choice of other portfolios, but I didn't test that because there's 2 or 3 that others have eyes on, so I didn't actually go and test the friendship. I just said that's a nice offer and left it at that.
And was it a risk of further disappointment? I mean, you had one budget and obviously not very realised. It was delivered last year. You lost government. How disappointing was that?
Oh, it was disappointing, but actually most of the things we did have been hung on to by the new government. All the work in child poverty, which they claim so proudly, is most of them, not all of it, but most of it is things that we were able to set and train as a result of.
It's more ambitious than what you had.
Well, not particularly. I'm not sure that baby bonus for everybody, regardless of their income, is that ambitious. I think the important things of working for families and some of the changes we made there. And actually, I do think the bit that I regret is we started an attempt to simplify the tax and transfer system so people knew more what they were getting and it was more focused based on the work that they were doing. And Labor's turned around and complicated it even further. So that's unfinished business for somebody in the future.
And you, I mean, if you had one choice from that budget that you want to see go forward that Labor's not keen on, what would it be? Those income tax brackets?
Well, I think the tax thresholds have to change at some point. We're in a position now where within 3 or 4 years, people on the average wage will be paying the top tax rate just because of bracket creep as wages grow. And that's actually a bit nuts. I mean, you can't have people on the average wage paying 33 cents in the dollar. They've got GST at 15 cents. You're just effectively creating and making it impossible for people to get ahead. And it's something that I think a government of one stripe, probably a national stripe, will have to deal with it. Labor seem to be sort of pathologically opposed.
You talked a little bit there about regrets. Do you regret the $11.7 billion hole?
Not at all.
Well, it backfired.
No, it didn't at all.
You don't think it backfired?
No. It backfired with a few people in here and a few other commentators around the place.
As
far as the New Zealand public are concerned, they're rightly concerned about the fiscal risk of these guys. And we now have a situation where we have a finance minister who's a bit hoist on his own petard. He came out so aggressively prior to the election. He's now running around Wellington telling everybody that listens, they can't spend any money. So it's all going to play out.
The Burl came out and backed Labor's fiscal plan.
Bill were paid to. I mean, Bill were paid to say add it up. That's
but you couldn't name a economist. Well, you had an interview, the finance leaders debate with Guy Nespiner. You couldn't mention one economist that backed.
Well, actually, actually, most of those that did criticise it weren't economists. The only one that really was in terms of independent was Cameron Baggery, and he changed his view.
Well, he said he wouldn't have said it the way you said. He said, okay, they might have suspending issues.
Yeah, there you go.
They might have suspending issues, but he said it was wrong to talk about an $11.7 billion hole that he couldn't prove.
Actually, he changed his mind and he said they'd got spending issues, so I'm pretty relaxed about it.
Okay, moving on. You've talked about commercial life. What's the future hold for you?
Well, I literally don't know yet, which is quite exciting. But I am keen to be involved in perhaps areas that I've been genuinely interested in when I've been in government.
Communications?
Tech sector probably,
right.
And the export sector. I mean, many people, the funny thing about being in New Zealand is often we don't get out and look back at ourselves. And we're a very small country and we have some wonderful companies that do some amazing things on the smell of an oily rag and compete with some of the biggest companies in the world. And I'd love to be in a position to help some of those at some point.
Who's next for the National Party in terms of a high-profile resignation? Are we going to see more of these?
Oh, I don't know about that. Everybody's got to make their decision as to when their time is up. My personal view where I got to was I'd had a wonderful nearly 10 years and nearly 16 years in politics, nearly 10 years in Parliament. 9 of those as a minister. That's a real privilege. I mean, many people stay in politics for 20, 25 years and don't get as much time as a minister that I've had. So.
But do you think there's a bit of pressure now? I mean, you're looking at Nick Smith. other people there, that there are people that are there in the background, I suppose, that
No,
like working in the background.
I don't think there's any great pressure. But everybody just makes their own decisions personally when they're ready. I mean, Bill did that. He had 27 years in politics, which is a magnificent time. Mine's a little bit different. The way I came into it, how I came into it, came in 2002 into the party. But I look at it from my perspective. I had 17 years in the radio business. I've had nearly 17 years in politics, and maybe there's the third career is beckoning.
Winston Peters, Black Ops. Do you think he's able to say anything positive about a opposing PM?
Well, he apparently
MP
he almost said something positive. He didn't say anything much positive about Bill, which I thought was very disappointing. But I don't really care what he says about me. I thought it was amusing that he was the one that suggested that I was the Black Ops guy. I thought that was funny. Pot calling the kettle black, maybe, I don't know.
Is Simon Bridges New Zealand's next Prime Minister?
Yes.
How can he do it in 2020?
He can do it by focusing on the stuff that people care about, on their incomes, their security, and there's going to be massive opportunity. The biggest problem for the National Party in opposition, and my biggest regret, if you like, from going, is that there are so many targets, and there's going to be so many targets the next 2.5 years. These guys that are in now are going to muck it up. They weren't ready, and we're going to see that fold out in the next couple of years.
You were involved as a campaign manager. Are you going to lend a hand from the outside at the next election?
I've offered to, and I'm relaxed either way.
And what has Simon Bridges said?
He was pretty keen to be in my ear every now and then, and I think that's the way we do things, actually, in the National Party. So, I'm happy to help.
Do you think there should be a bit of a gap after people retire from politics? We've heard a lot about lobbyists moving straight from political positions into lobby positions. What do you think?
Oh, look, I think it's up to individuals. But the main thing is anybody who's working around politics, you just got to declare any conflicts that you have and be careful with them. And it's really important that people don't mistake their personal stuff with their political responsibilities. And I think it's pretty straightforward. I haven't had any concerns about that over the last 10 years. Just be upfront and don't be involved in things that affect you personally.
And speaking of personally, you're looking forward to more time with the family?
I am. I asked my little girl, who's 10, the other day what she thought of Daddy leaving Parliament, because she's never known me not being in Parliament. And she looked at me and said, "Oh, well, you'll get more time to take me to school each day, so that'll be good."
Oh, that'll be great. That's a good way to finish it. Best of luck for the future. That's Steven Joyce, former Finance Minister and Minister for Economic Development, retiring from Parliament. We'll see who might be next. It's coming up to 13 minutes to 8.
And just a quick clarification, we had a report just a few minutes ago on Niue and said that 15,000 people live there. Whoops, we got that wrong. It's actually 1,600.
Oh, it was 1,200 at last count, but there you go, 1,600.
Yeah, 1,600.
Not as many as 15,000.
The latest number there. So quite a few of you getting in touch saying, I think you got that one wrong. And yes, indeed we did. Well, Golden Bay business owners turned out in force at a public meeting last night to